Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Good morning, one and all. Lampard is under severe pressure at Chelsea. Forget the media, forget the board, forget Roman. The Chelsea fans are completely and utterly divided when it comes to the Frank Lampard debate at this moment in time. Some want the club legends, arguably in the top 2-3, probably in the top 2-3 players of the club's history. They want him to be given more time. They want more time for this new crop of players to gel and to integrate. And they think fans should be getting off his back. There are others who are absolutely incensed at the current form and think that Lampard has taken the club and the team as far as possible. That, of course, that is torch paper. That is music to the ears of the British and, of course, the European mainstream media that now looks set to try. And it's clear what they're doing here, the mainstream media. They are going to play Chelsea fans off of one another. It's as clear as the nose upon the end of my face. It's as obvious and as it stands out as much as my Christmas belly. There is no doubt about it. I'm going on a diet from tomorrow because Christmas has been an indulgent period for me. And that's exactly what the mainstream media are doing here. They are indulging. They are basking in. They are lapping up I'm going to be blunt here. The temporary turmoil at Chelsea. The temporary turmoil at Chelsea. They're absolutely loving it right now. And you literally see this because the British press are kind of on Frank Lampard's side. Okay? The British press are on Lampard's side. So it's Kai Havertz and Werner, who are the two big stars they signed this summer. Forget price tag. In terms of outright quality, they were two young European superstars. They've come in. The British media headlines are a variation of Chelsea duo. Chelsea's Werner and Havertz are letting Frank Lampard down as the boss issues sack warning amid crisis. That's pretty much a general headline. It's the young Germans' fault. The players are letting Frank Lampard down. That is the general narrative coming from the British press. You then go to the continent and you've got Sports Build. We obviously know Christian Falk and the like of there. Their message is Timo Werner and Kai Havertz do not believe Frank Lampard's plans and management and leadership are going to lead to them having a fruitful future and career. The German duo believe that they will never reach the next level if they continue under Frank Lampard. So the German press are completely and utterly backing Havertz and Werner. They are putting this solely upon the neck of Frank Lampard. They also reported 2 days before that if he didn't get a positive result against Villa and the game after, which is Man City, Frank Lampard could be gone and Tuchel could come in. We are literally seeing, this is what we saw in the summer. We saw the British press versus the German press in transfer negotiations. We're now seeing the British press versus the German press in the Chelsea debate. And I don't think from a fan point of view, it doesn't matter that it's Germany versus England in a press war. It's about what side of the fence you sit on. Do you support Frank Lampard or do you support the players? Do you want Frank Lampard in? Do you want Frank Lampard out? There are some that might want Lampard out now, but they don't want to support any form of player power. So there's so many variants going on here. This is amazing for the mainstream media. It's terrible, really and truly, for the Chelsea supporters. But that is exactly what's going on here. One report saying Werner and Havertz turn on Lampard, and the other report saying Lampard knows he's going to get the sack and he's being let down by his star duo. When in fact, you'll probably find it's 6 of one and it is half a dozen of another. Both Havertz and Werner have publicly stated they're struggling in England. They're struggling with the intensity, the speed, the power, the frequency of matches here. At the same time, we know Lampard's made mistakes. He hasn't played either of them regularly enough in their correct positions. There is still weird rumors going around being pushed and predicated by the overtly positive Chelsea hipsters on social media. And these Chelsea fans are strange to me. I've actually seen tweets from them saying, we're not even going to discuss the recent headlines. Why would you not? You're fans. You're meant to debunk them if you're going to. They don't want to discuss bad tactics from Lampard. They don't want to discuss bad performances from players. They are ostriches. Ostrich FC. They're burying their head in the sand so deeply. But that's why the Football Terrace is here. We're here to give you a voice and to give you your opinion. And as I've said, I'm a fan of Frank Lampard. Doesn't mean he hasn't made mistakes in recent weeks. Doesn't mean he's the finished article. It doesn't mean that he is blameless in Chelsea's current form. But I think sacking him now would be too soon. I think it sets a very bad precedent in this new cultural reboot that you've been looking for. That's surrounded in, we're going to develop young players. We're going to create a philosophy. We're on a 2-3 year plan. We're going to build something strong and tangible for the future. I think sacking Lampard now just destroys all of that. I really do. And if you look at Chelsea's success since other clubs generated money, whether it be through TV and additional commercial deals like Man United and Liverpool, since City got billionaire owners, Everton got billionaire owners, Wolves got billionaire owners, Paris Saint-Germain got owned by a country. Since that's happened, Chelsea's frequency of top-level success has diminished. It's diminished a lot because they're not the only ones with money anymore. So you need to build something more tangible like City have done and like Liverpool have done and like Tottenham have done. Now, Chelsea have got to do it to a better degree than Tottenham because Chelsea are a proper club that want to win trophies. There's no doubt about it. But I want your views and opinions on these stories that are going around. Who do you believe? Who do you believe? Or are both of these stories hyperbolic, but in the opposite ends of the spectrum? Are they here just to polarize you? That's my view. I think the media here are trying to polarize Chelsea fans. I think they're trying to push them into a Lampard in or a Lampard out camp because they know it's going to generate clicks. Are Chelsea fans going to fall for it? Or if you are Lampard out, has this news woken you up and gone, do you know what? I'm just going to back my players and club and manager here I'm not going to toe the party line. I'm not going to fall victim. I'm not going to be a rat to the Pied Piper. Do you know why I'm saying all this? Before we go to your calls, the StreamYard lines are open. The link is in the description below. Please smash the like button as well. Nearly 1,000 people watching. Only 76 likes. What's going on? Hit that like button, please. If you're a Chelsea fan, we're here to defend you very much today from these media stories. So hit that like button for us. And the way I look at it is this. I got pulled in on a number of occasions to the Ollie in, Ollie out debate. I was blinded by emotion. And that's the one weakness you have as a fan that loves your football club is you are blinded by emotion a lot. You live in emotions. You live in feelings. It's very hard not to because you love your football club. But look at what the media is printing over the last 24 hours. The Germans are defending the Germans and attacking the Brits. And the English are attacking the Germans and defending the Brits. I should tell you something. The fans don't really care about British, English, whatever it may be, German. It's whether you want Ollie in or Ollie out, whether you like the players you've signed or whether you don't like the players you've signed. But let me ask you this question, Lampard outers. Are you going to support, whether it's even a story or not, if it's true even? If it's true, fair. If it's a fake story, fair enough. But if it's true, would you support player power? It's as simple as that for me. Skype lines are open. Not Skype lines. Skype lines are never open anymore. StreamYard lines are open. The link for that is in the description below. Please sign up to the Football Terrace Clips channel. You can subscribe to that by the link in the description below. And please become an official member of the Football Terrace from as little as 99 pence per month. The majority of our streams now, the second half of them, we're going to be going member chat only, which is going to start very, very soon. You'll be able to get your comments in. Please send us in any questions you have. Please send them in via super chats as well. We will read out as many member comments as we can. I see Ites here. I don't know what you're saying, Ites. I'll just read a comment. It says, do I make sense? I'm not too sure. I really don't know. Finding Timo and Shai Havertz are dead food. Let me just address this as well for rival fans out there. Timo Werner and Kai Havertz are exceedingly talented football players that will come good in the Premier League. They will come good in the Premier League. I think overtly judging a player 4 months into a season, 15 games, 16 games into a season is tantamount embarrassing. To completely judge them, I think is embarrassing. You might say they're rubbish now and in 2 years they don't hit the heights. And you say, see, I told you. But listen, man, a broken clock is right twice a day. Just throwing out soundbite sort of uneducated drivel doesn't mean you're a mastermind of football. It's as simple as that. We're going to jump into some of your calls now, though. Keep hitting that like button, please, people. It's really important to us that you get that done. Sign up to our Discord server as well. Ites here, Talks Football, says Tuchel in. Tuchel in. Interesting. Kieran Ward here on Facebook says, you doing the transfer window and Happy New Year. 100%. We'll be covering the transfer window during January, as we always do. We always cover the transfer window very intensely here on the Football Terrace. We'll be doing that. That starts from tomorrow. DJ, one of our members here, says Skills just hates agenda against Werner and Havertz. I don't know who Skills is, brother. Maybe you're talking to yourselves in there. Alex here says Rashford had more goal contributions than Son last season, and this season so far, he's still in nobody's team of the year. Listen, that's because there's an agenda against Manchester United. We know this. Marcus Rashford is in the top 5, top 6 left-sided attackers in Europe, and he's in the top 10 inside forward stroke wingers in world football. Absolute cast iron facts. But we're here to talk Chelsea. We're going to get back onto the Chelsea comments here. Daniel here with a super chat says Lampard and Werner had a heated argument at halftime versus Arsenal. So hopefully it's about being up front every game. Where did you read that, Daniel? I haven't heard about that news story. Maybe that's something that slipped through my fingers. But heated arguments are not uncommon. These kind of things are meant to happen. They can be blown out of proportion. But remember when this happened before? With Frank Lampard, when Jose Mourinho was being called a bully by the German press for not picking Bastian Schweinsteiger for games. And at the time, he got defended by the Man United fans because they were supportive of Jose. If this story was written about Lampard last year, 95% of Chelsea fans would have shut it down. Now you've got Chelsea fans saying, oh, maybe I can pull on this. Kai Havertz and Werner don't like him, Fred, to get what I want. Are you willing to sell your soul to the devil to get what you want? I want to hear from you. First caller of the day is going to be, we're going to go to Philip Hunt. Philip Hunt, massive contributor of the Football Terrace. What you saying, bro?
Oh, hi, Terry. How you doing?
I'm very well, my friend. What do you make of this story that's circulating about Lampard, about Havertz and Werner?
I think it's more of just, like, the media is just seeing an opportunity. They're seeing a club that's, they came in with this big promise, and Chelsea fans, what they've been saying this is like the greatest team ever, slagging off Manchester United and Liverpool, saying how Lampard is this great manager, which I do like Lampard, but now they're in trouble, and I think the media is wanting to create stories out of it, so they're pitting two teams against each other. Like, we saw this in Arsenal, like, they have Louise and Willian against Arteta, so I think it's just to generate clicks. I don't really think it's as big as people might be wanting it to be.
I hear there's a comment here. See, this is the interesting thing, right? From Carl. Carl here says, this channel, he means me, perpetuates sensationalism. So how can you slam fans for polarizing opinions is rich? Well, what we do, listen, if that's your opinion of the Football Terrace, you're entitled to it. I'm going to lose absolutely zero sleep over that. What we're here to do, just to make it very, very clear, is we see the stories that are circulating, we see what's trending on social media, and we talk about it as football fans. We give you a voice to come out and say, this story is BS, Terry, this story is true, Terry. I don't believe this story because I do believe the story because of that. Very few places, the mainstream media don't really give you an outlet. You might be able to leave comments on a Twitter post or Instagram post or leave comments on their websites, but who comes back to you and responds? Equally, you can phone TalkSport, and on average, you'll get if you do get through after it costing you about £30 to get through via their call lines, you might get 30 seconds to say your piece. The gigantic YouTube channels that are owned by conglomerates, do they give normal, everyday football fans a voice, Carl Creed? No, they don't. So this is what we're here for. We're here to talk about what's going on, what's being said in football, what's being discussed, and we're here to give you a voice, whether it be putting your comments up on the screen and actually paying you, Carl, the respect you deserve as a football fan to address you, to give you our time, and to put our energies into you. We have people on the call, the likes of Philip Hunt. Most other YouTube channels don't do it. They do a super chat from you, which is great, but that's it. They have their stars on, they have their panels on, they have their celebrity guests on. When do they give the fans an actual voice? So, Carl, I hear what you're saying, bro. If you don't like what we do at the Football Terrace, you don't have to click on these links, but we do respect your views today. Philip, listen, I appreciate you coming on and having your say, mate. And listen, all the support you've given this channel in the last however many months, I can't even count. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
No worries, man. This year's been tough, and finding this channel has been great to discuss with other football fans. Even though you're a United fan, I can still appreciate your opinions. So thanks,
I
mate.
appreciate that, mate. Listen, happy New Year to you, and we'll speak to you in 2021. You take care, brother.
You too.
Thank you, mate. Bye-bye. Next up on the show, we are going to have, who we're going to put on next? We're going to put Haunted Radio on. Haunted Radio, welcome back to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say, brother?
Yeah, Terry, I'm a United fan here. I actually used to call in with the Skype line, Ashrey, but I think I haven't called in for a while. But I decided to call in today as you were discussing Chelsea. And I wanted to take the piss out of Chelsea, to be honest with you, in the most unbiased way possible. In the most unbiased way possible. No, who the hell do you think they are buying Werner, Havertz? Then the thing is, it's not necessarily true that the players are going to integrate. That's never going to happen in once. And the thing is, they've bought good players, and I think Warner is a good player. I think Havertz is a good player, and I think they're going to click. But the media has gone absolutely quiet there in England when Oli loses 2 games, and I'll tell you what. After the Istanbul game, I went Oli out. All right, I went Oli out. But the thing with that is, Lampard is doing worse with double the money spent. I don't think we even spent half the money Lampard spent this summer. And Lampard, there's room for improvement in Lampard. There's room for improvement in Lampard, but the pressure Oli gets from us fans and from the media, whereas Lampard gets nothing. I think it's ridiculous. And the players they've bought and the way they're performing, I think if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be depressed, to be honest with you.
Do you know what, Haunted Radio? You've called out the Chelsea fans there. I hear what you're saying. Thank you for your support and your calls. Haunted Radio thinks Chelsea fans are a bit deluded and there's no guarantees these players are going to click. We had a super chat here. It says, Terry, do you think Timo and Kai are going to give in to the pressure which might make them failed signings or average signings in the future? I've still got faith in them, to be honest with you. I think they're both highly talented individuals with very high ceilings. So I wouldn't be writing them off just yet. But just as Haunted Radio just said, that there is always an outside chance that they won't click, they won't make it, they could go backwards, because we've seen this happen before in the Premier League. We have seen superstars come to this league. One Sebastian Veron, an absolute world-class player when Man United bought him, playing for the best team in England with the best manager in the history of football, and he didn't click and didn't make it work. He then moved to Chelsea and didn't work. So there are no guarantees ever, but I think it's a little too soon to write off players of this level, of this ilk, and of this quality. Another super chat here says, Terry, most Chelsea fans who are Lampard out are reactionary. It's fine to criticize him, but to want him out knowing about the 3-year plan is so backwards. I hear you on that. I hear where you're coming from. I think it's a little bit too soon, in my opinion. I really do. iTest is here again. Says, who remembers a time when people called Lampard and Arteta better than Oli? Lol. Yeah, you. You did. But at least you come out yesterday and apologize for your mistake. Next up on the show, my brother's back. It's Jem. What you saying, mate?
Bad brother. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, mate. What's your thoughts on these stories that are circulating? Because you've got the British press defending Lampard. You've got the German press talking about almost pulling on the thread of player power is about to take over again and try and push Lampard out because your two star players do not believe they can progress underneath him. What's your thoughts on it, mate?
It's a load of bollocks, to be quite fair. I just don't believe it. I mean, look, I think a lot of these media outlets react upon what they see on social. And a lot of what you're seeing on social is Chelsea fans slagging off their manager, moaning about the team, moaning about the formation, moaning about the systems, moaning about Lampard. And I just think they've reacted to it. I don't think personally that Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, after being with Chelsea for the last 3-4 months, have come out and actually said this. Number one, they've only been there 3-4 months. And number two, if they have said it, and I was Frank Lampard, they would just be benched, straight up benched. Let's be serious. You don't talk about a manager like that within your first 3-4 months. Do you know what I mean? You've got to look at yourself. But for me, I just think it's a load of bollocks, Terry. I really do. I don't think there's no sense in it.
No, I understand. Listen, I think it's the German press doing one of two things and the British press doing one of two things. Both are setting off the fan base against one another because it generates. Because if you're a Lampard outer, there's this element of, oh, look, that's another thing for me to pull on. It gives a Lampard out fan the opportunity to say, right, Werner and Kai Havertz don't want to be here because of how bad Lampard is. I'll pull on that thread. Equally, You've got the Lampard inners that will look at the Express today and say, look at that, see? All these professional journalists are getting information that it's Werner and Havertz are letting Lampard down, not the other way around. I will use that as my stick to beat people with. And it just it's a way, and I've seen this. This is literally the same pattern they do with Ollie. You know, oh, this is bad, that's bad, the other's bad. And this is why I say to Chelsea fans, slow down a little bit, because you're very capable of now going on a really good run and winning 3-5 games on the bounce. And then what? You know, you play Chelsea, City, in a couple of days' time. There's no. You can beat them. Imagine you beat City. You're right back in the race.
Of course.
I think people have just got to slow down a little bit. And I'm talking because I'm not emotionally connected to Chelsea. When it's Man United, I'm far more emotional. When you're emotional, your mind is clouded. You should never make decisions based on emotion. You really, really shouldn't.
The thing that's happening to Lampard right now is exactly the same thing that happened to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in his first season at Man United, especially the first half of the season. When it came to January, everyone was calling him out, saying that his systems were crap, players weren't performing, players were out of position, etc., etc., etc. And what did Ollie do? He responded. Yeah, and if you didn't give him the chance to do that, you would never have known if he was, if he was a decent manager. And the problem we've got at the moment as Chelsea fans is that we're in the same position as that, but we have too many reactionary fans like you do, Ollie outers, that are just not willing to give them time. And this is what we're trying to do. Just give him time. He's got no living experience.
So, if you look at the way myself and KJ have been in recent times, I've had moments even this season where I've spoke about maybe Ollie does need to lose his job. And a lot of that was in the opening sort of 2 or 3 months of the season. But there was still this element of, it was more along the lines of, we're talking to other managers. That's going to cause disruptions. If you don't really want him as the coach, just get rid of him. Now,
yeah, exactly.
I haven't done that, and things have turned around for us. But I'm happy either way. Does that make sense? I'm not in a camp, Ollie in, Ollie out. I'm Man United in. I want Man United to be the most successful that they can be. And the way I look at Chelsea is the same thing. Legitimately, if Roman is looking at Tuchel right now and fancies Tuchel, then just sack Lampard, because otherwise you could throw a season away, if that makes sense. But at the same time, fans have just got to slow down a little bit, because we live in emotions when it comes to our own football teams, and we want the best, and we very rarely have patience. We live in a world of instant gratification, and we want it now. But my point about Tuchel coming in is I still think it's going to take him as long to integrate this group of players together. So you might get a little bounce to begin with, but you're still going to then suffer with the same problems.
But this is the problem, Terry. There's too many Chelsea fans that think by getting rid of the manager and bringing someone in is going to bring us instant success. And that's not the case. But if Tuchel comes in, he needs to set his systems out. That's not going to happen in the next 3 months. He's got no pre-season training. He's going straight into the thick of it, into games. He's trying to implement his system. It's going to take him time to get the best out of the players and get them working in the system he wants. These things don't happen overnight. So getting rid of Frank Lampard now is not going to help us to be successful at the end of the season.
And this is the thing, bro. And this is the thing with Chelsea. Chelsea Football Club are very successful with having a conveyor belt manager approach. But it was when you had a system, but even more importantly, a core group of players who were some of the best players in Premier League history. Cech, Cole, Terry, Carvalho, Lampard as an example in the middle, the Ballacks of this world, the Drogba, and then a sprinkling of brilliance around them as well, from Maloudas to Ivanovic, who was a top player as well. You had this core group that were top level players. You haven't got that right now. You don't have that established core group right now. So having a conveyor belt manager approach without building a solid foundation isn't going to work, or at the least, it isn't going to yield the same level of success as it had done in the first decade or so, or just under Roman Abramovich. And this is where Chelsea fans have got to wise up. Tuchel will suffer the same problems. The football might look a little bit better. You might yield slightly more points, but I do think there is this belief in the Lampard outers that if you replace Lampard now with Tuchel, you just go on to win the league. Like
it's called a spoiled mentality.
Like it's a foregone conclusion. That's what stands out hugely to me, looking from the outside in. And the one thing I said before about sacking, there's been times where I felt that Ollie was close to being sacked or should be sacked, and I've been wrong about it as it stands right now. But my view was very much along the lines of, but I don't think a new manager is actually going to change too much. I don't think a new manager is going to. My biggest doubts about Man United are still about the football club. Do we have the mentality? Do we have the hunger to, say we come second this year and we're close to winning it? Do our board have the hunger to go again next year, reinforce where it's needed, and push for us to go on and win a league title. I don't believe that still. Because
Can I ask you a question?
let me finish. Because
Yeah,
I haven't seen it from the club in 8. When it comes to Chelsea, I got told as a rival, we're building for the future. We're building a dynasty. We're doing a 4 or 5 year plan to build this platform that's full of a young plethora of academy and purchase players. We're going to have a young and exciting manager playing beautiful football that's going to gel it all together. And I'm like, well, I'll believe that when I see it, in terms of I want to see young players struggle for a year.
Yes,
at the club because they're talented. I want to see a manager come in, go through some bad moments, not get sacked, and be able to and be able to become a great manager at the club. Until those two things happen, there is no such thing as a cultural reboot.
Exactly.
Doing the same process under Roman. What was your question, mate?
I agree. Just if Ollie was given 259 million and he was in the position that Frank Lampard is right now, would you want him out?
Do you know what?
And you had Havertz, you had Werner, you had Chilwell, all these guys.
I can only look at this from the angle of, if it was at my club with my board, I would be in the middle of it. And what I mean by in the middle is this: at Man United, I don't think a new manager. I don't think there isn't a close enough guarantee for me that a new manager comes in, makes it click, and makes us win league titles. It depends. Could they push us on to a slightly higher league position? Yes. Could Tuchel get you playing better football than Lampard? I would probably say yes, he could. But does that mean you're ready to go on and push for league titles? Your club, your fans generally, unless you're winning league titles and pushing for league titles, your fans generally are not happy. So is Tuchel going to be able to do that anytime over the next couple of years? Maybe, maybe not. Would he be able to do that at Man United? I don't know. I'm unconvinced that Man United are in a title race. Would a better manager put us into a title race? I still don't know. Do you know why? Because we've had 2 superior managers to Lampard at the club and we've failed. So there is no precedent post Fergie, post David Gill that we could do that. So I'm really in the middle on it, mate. And it might sound like I'm sitting on the fence, but it's because I just don't know. Because at the end of the day, Man City and Liverpool have been the best 2 teams in England for the last 4 or so years. Why? They have the best owners, the best foundation, and they're the best run clubs with that have stuck by their managers through some downtimes. They've kept on their path in the right direction, and it's yielded massive results. And I think that's something our club in this new era of football, where everyone's got money, and nearly every single club in the Premier League has a really good player or 2. That never used to happen in the same way, because all the big clubs would just snap them up as an example. Jem, but I appreciate you coming on, mate, and having your say. We'll jump more calls. Top man, thank you. Super chat here from Daniel says, I backed every manager from Vialli to Lampard. People just need to calm down and support the team instead of criticizing the manager and players. Rodrigo Rodders here says, isn't it ironic Lampard was part of a dressing room player power back in his player days, getting some managers fired? Karma. There would be karma in it if this story turned out to be true. Do me a big favor, please, people. Nearly 1,500 people tuning in. We have gone member chat only, but please smash that like and share button. You can become a member by clicking the join button now or clicking on the link in the description below. Who is this Vialli guy? Paul Ross, you must know who Vialli is. I bet some Chelsea fans don't know who he is. Depends on the age, I suppose. But yeah, you should know who Vialli is if you're a Chelsea fan. David here says, ha ha ha, Chelsea turning into Arsenal. Unfortunately not. They are still in the mix of players that will take time to build if Frank gets time. Indiana here says, this is how Ollie outstarted. Once you go down that path, it's a fixed agenda. It's very true. It's very true. And I get there are moments where you think a manager's got to go or whatnot, but I just think like patience. I just don't think Chelsea are in that bad a position. I do think Chelsea fans are slightly overreacting, in my opinion. Next up on the show, we are going to have... Who we're going to go for? We're going to go for iTest. iTest, welcome back to the show, mate. What do you want to say? Well, that's not iTest, it's somebody else. We'll go back to you in a minute then. Pav's on the show. What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm good, bro, man. These Chelsea fans, this is karma for everything you have said when all these players have come in about winning the league, your manager being this perfect person, like that no one can say anything bad about. And now that our club, United, are going down a good path, no negativity, the media are coming for you because they need something to write about. And you guys are literally falling in the trap just because of a few bad results. Like you have to understand the amount of players that you brought in. You can't expect that team to perform like they're prime Barcelona or something, because it doesn't work like that. You've got, what is it, like 5 players that have come from the European leagues, and they're coming into the Premier League. They need to get used to it. It's not they've not even played half a season yet, and you're going on them like they've been here for years. It's not Lampard's fault that Timo Werner can't finish his dinner. Like, I don't understand. Some of these players, they need time. Havertz needs time. He needs to get himself molded into what the Premier League is. Same with Werner, same with Ziyech. Like, you kind of need to give these people time. You're all kind of like just jumping the gun. Just give them a bit of time. Look at what Lampard done with the players that you had last year. Some of them players, they've been playing like the English league, might not be the Premier League, but in the Championship. And he got something out of them. You just need to give this guy time. Maybe if he doesn't get nothing out of them next season, he can maybe ask questions. But jumping the gun now, wanting him out, you're literally throwing your toys at your pram. Just like use your brain a bit and understand the situation. Let some of these players gel. Let them mold into like adjusting to this league.
Yeah, I do think that, and it's well, I think what Chelsea fans have got to kind of listen to a little bit of is, and I want to say this in the right way, it's listen. So maybe try and listen to some rival fans, because rival fans tend to be a little bit more level-headed when talking about other teams, other clubs, because you're not as emotionally involved. And I do think Chelsea are going to turn this round this season. I predicted them, I think, to finish 2nd or 3rd this campaign. I can still see Chelsea doing that. Teams are dropping points left, right, and centre. This is their bad run. Chelsea are going to go, in my opinion, Chelsea are going to go on another 2 or 3 month unbeaten run where they might say they might play 12, 13 games and they might end up winning 9 of them and put themselves into a really strong position. They're just having a little bit of a rough patch right now. It will turn around. Really and truly, it's easy to turn it around when people have their backs. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't criticize when things go wrong. And I've said that about Ollie on so many shows. When he's bad, say he's bad. But don't sort of go over the top. Don't completely write him off. Don't turn on him. Don't make it easy for the media to write these stories. Because that's the one thing I've noticed here. The media just write stories to sort of appease what fans are thinking, in my view. So I agree with you there, Pav. Listen, my brother, thank you for coming on the show, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it. Joe here with Super Chat says, fans that want instant success will never be satisfied, and the media are like sharks. They smell blood. I completely agree with that. A comment here that's from C says, these Lampard outers are going to end up deluded when we start winning. They are still going to chat crap, and just like eye test, they are going to let their egos get in the way of the truth, is what they think. Daniel here says, Monstar said we were going to win the league. Now he's Lampard out. Monstar is his own person, and all Chelsea fans aren't the same. That's very, very true. That's very, very true in terms of what you're saying there. You can't tarnish all Chelsea fans with one brush, but you will all get banter based on sometimes the loud minority. That's just the way football works. Next up on the show, we have got David. David's back with us. What you saying, mate?
I'm good. Just woke up.
Oh, yeah, you were on Midnight Vibes last night, weren't you? Yeah. So, yeah. Good show, by the way. Good show. I watched about 10 minutes of it, and then I went to bed. I thought I'd get an early night, mate, because I'm an old man. I want your views on these stories. And I get that some people, I know you're a Lampard outer. I know you don't, or you're not a fan of Lampard and you're highly critical of him at the very least, right? What do you make of these stories? The British press basically stating Werner and Havertz are letting Lampard down. The Germans are saying Havertz and Werner don't want to play for Lampard anymore. What do you believe the truth is? And how do I say this? If it's true that they're turning on Lampard, whether you like your manager or not, will you support player power to get him out?
I don't think they actually are not going to play for him. I think that's a bit. I think it's just because they're in bad form and they don't look as happy. So people are like, "Oh yeah, they must not be playing for him." I think they're just trying to make the link, a bit like with Tuchel, where it's like Lampard's in bad form, Tuchel just got sacked, therefore we can make the link. I don't think they are, but at the same time, I would sort of understand why, because like everyone said, obviously we need this adjustment period and so on and so forth. But if you want someone to adjust to something new, you make it as easy for them as possible. You wouldn't want to try and make it as difficult as you can. Like it'd be a weird thing to do, especially with our two most expensive signings. It doesn't make sense for you to try and like force them out and like move their positions and so on. For me, I've always said it. My strongest lineup doesn't have Mason Mount in it. It's a 4-2-3-1. And I've got Havertz in his position at 10, and I've got Werner as a striker. Even the thing is, even as a winger, it's not like at Leipzig he was playing like hug the touchline or like use the fullback. He wasn't doing that. He was basically still a striker, but he was just pushed slightly out wide. He wasn't your traditional English winger as we have here. He was more like an Mbappe. You know, when Mbappe goes on the wing, but he's really still.
That's an interesting point you bring up. I was doing some research on Mbappe the last few days. Just nothing for a video. Just researching. And Mbappe's always been compared to the Rashfords and the Gnabry's of this world because people see him drift wide. But you're right, he drifts wide. Where Gnabry and Rashford start wide and they drift in central. That is a very different position. Although heat map wise, it might look the same. And that's where I always say with statistics, you have to do a bit more exploration. Do you know what I find interesting in what you've said, though? You know, the sort of, you know who the YouTubers and the Twitter accounts who I'm talking about when I say this. So I don't need to name them and cause a beef. But you know, the overly positive sort of hipster style Chelsea fans on socials. The reason they're going to fully back Lampard, though, even when he goes wrong, is Lampard's kind of been playing people in the I'll call them false positions and agree with you on this. The false positions that they tried to convince the Chelsea fan base in the summer that they would work in. Havertz as a winger, Mason as either as a winger or as an 8. Havertz as an 8. Do you get where I'm coming from? They were the ones who they made all the videos, they made all the content that were complete bullshit, saying, oh, this is how we can operate. Basically, this is how we can keep a lot of our last season's players in the team with the new signings, and we can make it all gel and work. And most neutrals and a lot of the honest Chelsea fans, so yourself, Anita, Monster, so many of you that were on this platform and got ripped by the sort of hipster Chelsea fan base on social media, ripped, saying, well, why? Werner's a striker. He drifts left, but he's a striker. Kai Havertz is a number 10 or a second striker. Why are you playing him in number 8 where he hasn't really played? I even saw some people talking about actually Ziyech is going to play central and it'll be Havertz that goes on the right wing. And you know, you're like, where have you got that? You've literally looked at heat map.
It doesn't make any sense.
You know, if you look at a heat map of Bruno Fernandes in the last 2 years, he looks like on a heat map like he plays on the right hand side of the attack because he drifts to that side quite a bit. Why? Because he can cross a ball from there. It's like the lack of knowledge from football fans that they then try and twist into like, I know better than you is mad. And then what happens is there's no harm in getting opinions wrong. I would say I get 50% of my football opinions wrong because it's all, I think this will happen. But I say I get it wrong. What they then try and do is this is how agendas then start. Then it's like, I've now got to bury my head in the sand, ignore everything bad that's going on and just wait and hope and pray for the day that it clicks in the way I said it was so I can say I was right. And I just find it embarrassing. And that's how these agendas of in and out come and happen for me. That's how I look at it.
But the thing is, I'm not even like Lampard out. I'm just saying like right now he's underperforming. And considering how much he's been underperforming, like I kind of have to say that it's best if he leaves. Because we obviously last season we were in the same position where we had a really good run at the start, then it dipped off in the middle, then we came back at the end. But the whole point of making all these signings is that you didn't have to have this massive dip in the mid. You can still have dips. That's fine. No one's saying you can't have dips. My point is that, as I've been saying for a long time, and even you were like, oh, but it's not like that all the time. I was saying, I keep seeing my team's trending downwards in terms of performance. We got to a really good point. Kai Havertz got COVID. And then after that, our performances really started to drop and drop and drop and drop. Even against West Ham, where we won, it was still an awful performance. But because we won, no one wanted to talk about it. And I know again, but like there are some, and I was saying it as well. I said it about all my youth players. I think Reece James is our best youth player, but I still said all of these young players have a limited amount of good games that they can have because they're young players. That's just how they are. I said, I was speaking to Brandon, the Arsenal fan yesterday, and I was like, of course your team's going to look better when you put in all your youth players. But there will come a point where you will lose 2 or 3 games in a row simply because these young players, they can't play every single game and be 100% and play it at their absolute level because they're young and they're going to make mistakes. So this is what I thought the whole point of signing all these players was, as in we can have a Mount and a Tammy on the bench, and when these players aren't performing, they come in and use their good performances to supplement it. That's what I thought it would be. I'm not saying Mason Mount is awful and should never play for. That's not what I'm saying. My point is that I think our strongest team doesn't have Mason in it. But could you imagine how people talk about Mason Mount's pressure? Imagine what you would do when he comes off on a sub at 60 minutes. People just want to have our youth players in there without thinking about the rest of the team. It doesn't make sense. Like, I know Tammy's scoring goals, but to sit here, considering the football that we play, and tell me that Tammy's a better option up front than Giroud doesn't make sense. Because if we want to cross the ball in a lot, Giroud's the best guy to have on the field. Like, there's no argument about it. But people are still like, nah, Tammy's got to do this. I'm like, Tammy can come in, but to tell me Tammy should be above Giroud doesn't make any sense to me. The only youth player I think in our team that should actually start is Reece James. He's the only one. And even I still think he should get benched for Ashley.
When everybody's fit.
Yeah, well, obviously when everyone's fit, exactly.
Yeah. I do think that's been a problem for Lampard as well this year. Like Ziyech, I'm not writing him off yet, Jesus Christ. I mean, but he's barely been fit. There's always a little concern for me when you sign players and they're injured quite a bit to start with. You worry that it's going to become a sort of a precedent. Do you get what I mean? Like, hopefully he can get over that as an example. Because of Pulisic being in and out, because of them two being. This is the interesting bit. It's why Hudson-Odoi comes up a lot. It's this element of Hudson-Odoi should be starting because he's a natural wide man, and it means you can play Werner centrally. But Lampard don't want to do that, and it's frustrating. I get why it's frustrating for fans. From my point of view, I can look at it completely objectively because I've got no emotion, and I'm like, there must be a problem with the player. And I don't know what the problem is. I'm not saying that people always go straight, oh, he must have a bad attitude. I'm not saying he's got a bad attitude at all, but there's got to be something as to why he doesn't pick him. But I feel like I thought he did well the other day against who did he play? Was it Villa?
Yeah, Villa.
Yeah, I thought he did well against Villa and whatnot. But it's whether or not he starts against City now. I just don't know, and I think he should.
But this was the point I made the other day. I went Mason Mount. I thought had a poor game against Aston Villa. After this, in the press conference, he still managed to mention Mason Mount had a good game, which I think is wrong. But I'm saying if Hudson-Odoi had the level of performance that Mason Mount did, I know for a fact in the next game he wouldn't play. Like, Hudson-Odoi has to be like 10 out of 10 in order to stay in the team. As soon as Ziyech is back, I reckon he'll get dropped again. And I don't blame him.
Yeah,
but like,
you
want him to get a run of games in. And this he should have had that run of games now, and he never got it.
With respect to Callum, signing Ziyech was a sign that, because Ziyech is of an age where you don't sign him to be on your bench. Signing him for me was a sign that Hudson-Odoi was always going to be second fiddle anyway. But look, Lampard could turn this around. As Anita said, her comment a second ago says, turning on Lampard doesn't mean you hate him. And I think that's a very key thing to point out as well. It doesn't just equal hatred. But I do think it could be a little bit early to sack him. I don't think Tuchel comes in and suddenly makes you title contenders. And when looking at the league, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, you're sitting there on 26 points. You're sitting there in 6th, but it's so tight. Barring top of the league that you're 7 points away from, you know, you beat City, you could be in the top 4. You know, you beat City, you could be in the top 4. You win a couple of games on the bounce, and you're right back in it. So that's my only thing about saying sacking him. I don't know where that leaves you. You know, if the new manager comes in and is awful, you could go further back, and then it's a bad decision. And I just think right now, you're not in the mire. You're not completely stuck in the mud where you need a change to rejuvenate yourselves. Yes, that run of form there, as we can see, is poor. I mean, it's almost a relegation level form when you scroll down the league. But I think you're going to improve on that. The one thing is for sure, the race for the title and the race for the top 4 this season is going to be epic, isn't it? And I know that nobody wants to be in it. Everybody wants to be above that. It's why I want Man United to focus on winning the league, because I think if we focus on winning the league, top 4 becomes a guarantee.
Personally, this is like when you look back at our results, we actually should be like. I know it's a weird thing to say, but we should be near and about the league because we had 3-3 draws. If you take out the 3-3 draw against West Brom, the 3-3 draw against Southampton, and then you beat another one of those minnow teams, suddenly we're in first. Like it's a weird
that's
thing.
Why I'm saying it's fine margin. You've actually, to an extent, there you've just triggered something in my head. It's fine margins between where you are and being at the top, and those fine margins. Yes, Tuchel could be the person that fixes those fine margins, but maybe another 6 months of this team learning and developing under Lampard. Maybe Lampard's mistakes he'll learn from. You know, I look at Ollie. All the things you guys are saying about Ollie, Man United fans are saying. I was listening to the Midnight Vibe show. I listened to Anita's brilliant podcast the other day. I think it's actually the biggest podcast post transfers that Chelsea show has done. So big up Anita for that. Like the rhetoric is he isn't learning. He's making the wrong subs. He's doing X. And I'm like, United fans are saying this about Ollie. Now 21 is coming is trending. And Ollie has become better at making his substitutions. His bench has become stronger. His players have gelled more. For me, it's going to be an interesting one. If Ollie goes on to win the league, the Ollie outers look stupid. And I look stupid for even questioning him at the beginning of the season. I don't know if he can win the league or not because he's done it right. If we'd have got rid of him, who knows what would have happened? The problem is you can't rewrite history. Do you know what I mean? This isn't end game where let's go back in time and let's make some subtle changes in the past and see whether we can change the future. Like we don't have the ability to do that. You only know what you're doing now. I think it's too early to sack Lampard is probably all I'm saying. But David,
the thing I was going to say before,
oh my God, go on.
I was going to say the thing is with Lampard though is like it's not the fact he's not sometimes he makes the right subs. However, like he's just making them at the wrong time. Like I was watching the United Wolves game. And you saw Tellez was having a bad first half. Oddie made a change. I saw even Nuno was losing, and there was that guy called Vitinha. He wasn't really doing much, so he made a sub at 55 because he could tell that nothing was changing. I'm seeing like this whole thing of players kept playing constant game after game after game after game, making no changes, and then he keeps playing them, and it doesn't make any sense to me because I'm saying, if I was a manager, I'd always focus on match day. Match day performance is number one because if you're not performing on match day, that's where my job's on the line effectively.
No, and I do hear that and understand it. Anita here says Ollie is learning, and it's actually nice to see as a football fan. As a Chelsea fan, I'm fuming, and I get that. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. There's the human element, and then there's the like. I was watching. I don't know why this came on my timeline. Have you heard of Johnny Rotten, the lead singer from the Sex Pistols?
No, I've heard the name, but I don't know who he is.
Punk rocker, and he. I don't know why this interview came up, and he made a very famous song in the 70s called "God Save the Queen." It was very much having a go at the monarchy, and he did an interview a little while ago, and they were like, "Oh, do you still hate the monarchy?" And he said, "Listen, as human beings, I love all of them. I just don't like the fact we have to pay tax to them," type thing. And it's sort of like that's how I am as a football fan. I would love to see Lampard be successful and develop. It'd be quite beautiful and romantic. But as a Man United fan, I want him to crash and burn. I just don't want it there. Absolutely. David.
Also, Timo Werner has more goal contributions this season than Sadio Mane, yet he's a flop. Just want to leave that in there. But yeah, you can let me go now.
Leave that in there. Thank you to C for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. I didn't know that. Timo Werner is the guy. Next up, we've got Daniel on the show. Daniel's an Arsenal fan. What do you want to say, mate?
Morning, Terry. Afternoon, Terry. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well, my brother. What do you make of these the Lampard stories doing the rounds?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Obviously, I'm not a Chelsea man. I'm an Arsenal man. But looking at it, I've got two sides to this. There's some factors that I see he's out of his depth. For example, when you play Werner on the right wing, when he's actually a striker, that's telling me that he's out of his depth when it's not working, and Tammy Abraham's not really doing the job up front. That's telling me it's a bit of a stubbornness. You're out of your depth. So that's losing a play in the dressing room, and and that situation is not working for you. And when I was watching the game, I was so shocked when he didn't bring Olivier Giroud on, because Chelsea were just crossing, and he didn't bring Giroud on, and Giroud's the best guy for that. And if Giroud came on, I think they would have salvaged the draw, in my opinion, personally. So there are some factors where I see he's out of his depth. There's some other factors where I say I think he needs time until the end of the season because he has had some credit in the bank. For example, last season, he got top 4 with majority of the side being from the academy, youngsters. And this season, it's not a massive gap for top 4. No one, like you said, no one wants to get into it. Everyone's inconsistent. So I think they need to keep until the end of the season and see where it goes.
What I think is interesting about Daniel. Listen, I appreciate your call and your support, mate. Thank you very, very much as always, my brother. Thank you. I think what's interesting about this, no one wants it. Teams are at different stages. I also think there's just this element of, how do I say this in the right way? I want to say this in the right way here. Teams are a lot more even now. A lot of people have said for years the Premier League has become weaker. I don't know if it has. I think teams have all become harder to beat. All teams have become better because of all the new money they've got, right? It means more points are being taken. It actually means on a European level, generally speaking, the English teams are weaker because the quality within the English league is spread thinner. Does that make sense? So we're spreading the quality of English players, the quality of foreign imports across the league as opposed to them being saturated in 3 or 4 clubs, because that's what used to happen. So I think it makes everybody look more inconsistent because there's a more of a level playing field within the Premier League. That's my view anyway. That's my view. If you got rid of all the TV money and just let the rich clubs be the rich clubs, Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Liverpool would dominate the league and we would be ahead of everybody else moving forward, in my opinion. If you got rid of the TV deal money now and it went purely to fan base size and rich owners, that's the way. That's the order of the league, and it would be a guaranteed top 4 of those teams pretty much every single year, in my opinion. Just looking at Kai Havertz as well. I mean, it is a while, you know. His last goal for Chelsea came in the 4-1 win over Sheffield United. That was on the 7th of November. It's gone a long time without score. He's got 2 assists in that time, 1 assist against Leeds, 1 assist against West Ham. That is a long time to not score. But then he had that flurry, didn't he? He had that flurry. He got a goal and an assist in the Champions League against Krasnodar, whatever is that how you pronounce it? Krasnodar. He then got a goal against Burnley, 2 goals against Rennes, and then he got the goal against Sheffield United. And prior to that, you remember he got the 2 goals and the assist against Southampton. I think that was it. People thought, and I remember he got then 2 goals, right? And then he come and then he went a couple of games without scoring, and then he got the goal, the assist, the goal, the brace, and then scored against Sheffield United. I'm an idiot. And what I'd put the Werner, Timo Werner. I was like, the Werner is here. He's gonna fly. It's my fault again. That's a Terry Judge, you know. As soon as I say a player is gonna kill it, it goes the wrong way. I'm sorry, Werner. I think I've done your career, bruv. I think me and my big mouth done your career, bruv. I'm sorry, my little kraut friend. I'm sorry, bruv. I'm not. I'm not. I'm a Man United fan. If I've had any helping hand in making Timo flop, as a Man United fan, I'm going to be happy about it. Next up on the show, we've got EY Talks Football. What you saying, bro?
So firstly, can you hear me?
I can, bruv. How old are you?
16.
You sure?
Yeah.
Good. Speak. Go for it then.
So firstly, that title is BS because they wouldn't turn on Lampard after saying that he sold them a project.
Why do you think the German outlet are printing it then?
Because they're just looking for something. Because Frank Lampard's not doing well right now, they're just looking for something to say.
Cool. Are you still backing Lampard yourself?
Yeah, I'm backing Lampard.
Care to elaborate?
I'm backing him because he has only had 5 bad games and everyone's just got onto him.
No, I hear that, mate. And I think I think you guys need to give him a little bit more time. Listen, EY Talks, thank you very, very much for coming on, having your say, young man. Next up, we're gonna have. Oh, here he is. Laddie, 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 la 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 la. Ladamus, Ladamus. It's Fraudamus Prime. He's a big fraud. Big fraud. Big fraud. He's a big fraud. Laddie, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You?
Yeah, a very deep voice this morning. You've been drinking whiskey for breakfast. What you saying about these Lampard stories, brother?
Whiskey. Yeah, I saw them myself last night, or yesterday in the afternoon and stuff like that. If this is all true, it's up to Roman to take control of this, because we've had this problem at Chelsea for years now. Player power. Players stop playing for the manager and getting them sacked. And it was under my assumption, because that's kind of what we were told, that Lampard would kind of try and change all of that and make it better for us for the future. So yeah, it's been reported in the news, German news. Cool. I don't know if this is necessarily true or not, but if it is, it's up to Roman as the owner to take control of this, because this isn't good. I don't care who you are. If you cost 200 million, or if you came from the academy, you don't turn against the manager.
Yeah, I think there needs to be an element here of people. I want to say this in the right way. If it's true they're turning on him, any Chelsea fan who doesn't back Lampard and supports player power, for me, they're a write-off as a fan, because I've said this for years about the no matter how I felt about Jose, no matter how I felt about Oli, no matter how I felt about LVG, I've never backed player power, because you set a dangerous, distasteful precedent. And what ends up happening is when you allow player power to set in, at some point, it will come back to bite you. It'll bite you on the arse, because at the end of the day, you know, if you let the wolves in to clear out the foxes, when there's no food left, who do you think them wolves are going to come looking for? The next time these players want to get rid of a manager, it could be someone you back and you like. You set up, for me, it's dangerous. So I think that you're right. Roman has to stomp this out. If Werner if it's true, and I don't know if it is, but if Werner and Kai Havertz go public and say, yeah, Lampard's holding us back, then sell those players. At the very least, they've got to get rid of those players, end the nonsense, and move them on. That's what I would do. There's a comment here from Twisted. Fraudamus Crime. That's a great name for you. Fraudamus Crime. I like that, bruv. The fake Chelsea fan who loves Jose off. Jose Sexual. Jose Sexual is better. Jose Sexual is very, very good.
You know what? That is probably one of my only regrets this year, because KJ started that in the group chat, and I was the one who brought it into the Terrace. I didn't, because no one when KJ said it, no one noticed it, and then
Victor, you can call in from the US. The link is in the description below, but we are ending the stream in about 2 minutes time. Listen, Prime, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Happy New Year. Speak to you again soon, my brother. Thank you very, very much. We're going to get Zane on the show now. Zane's back with us again. Oh yeah, just can move a man's there. Man has got that facial hair you've got is quality, bruv. The chin strap, holding his head on, looks slick, brother. Looks slick. Morning. Right. What do you make of these headlines?
All right, so I've been doing a bit of research, and that's why I rang in. Normally, over a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't talk about this, but I think, in my opinion, what I would like to put across is this: there should be a parallel, right? If you look at Lampard, he retired 2017. Gerrard retired at the same time as well, 2017. They both spent a year in the youth team. The interesting thing is, Lampard didn't actually coach a team, while Gerrard actually coached the under-18s and the under-19s. Then the following year, 2018, Gerrard got the Rangers job, Lampard got the Derby job, right? So already Gerrard's got 1 year experience in management. Now, he goes off to Lampard does Derby. Obviously, you know what happened there. He was set up to get in the Premiership. He failed the final hurdle. Aston Villa won. So, you know, he's done that. Now, if you look at Gerrard, he went to Rangers. They were third when he started. That season he came in, they became second. The following season, the COVID season, again, he came second. So, you know, he improved by 5 points in his first season on the previous one. Lampard goes into Chelsea, does an amazing job. No pressure. It's a free hit. Let's remember, embargo, transfer, all that kind of stuff. So he finished fourth. And in my opinion, this is what I really want to come on the fact is that Frank Lampard is still learning the job. He's become a manager. It's a different thing to becoming a player. A player, you're single-minded and determined, right? He hasn't got the skills at the moment. He hasn't got the skills in his toolbox. What he should have done after he got fourth, said, thank you very much. I'll put you guys in a stable platform. You got Champions League, get a manager in, spend the money and crack on. I'll go off and learn my job because that's what Gerrard done. Because look at Gerrard this season now. He's top of the league against the quadruple treble champions, all right? So I know Scotland's football is not that great, but he's built...
Listen, I get the shots you're firing here, but you can't compare a two-horse race in Scotland with what Lampard is having to... If you put Gerrard... So what you're telling me, if you put Gerrard in the Chelsea team as a manager last year, you think he'd be doing a better job than Lampard?
Because he's got the more experience and he's actually got the emotional intelligence. And that's why I still rate Ollie. The thing with Ollie, the players play for him, right? There's no rebellion and mutiny, whereas in Arteta and you're hearing in Lampard, right? Because he's developed those skills as a manager. If you ever become a manager, because I've become one recently, right? You need to know how to motivate your team. There's different individuals, characters in that. Some need, look at Ferguson. Some need a carrot, some need a stick, right? Arm around some people. You need to fire people up as well. Lampard hasn't learned those key skills to be a good manager or an effective manager. And that's what's happening at the moment. And that's his problem. He's got experienced multi-million-pound players coming in and they're looking at him thinking, hold on a minute. This guy don't know what he's doing. And unfortunately, that dysfunctional performance you're seeing on the pitch is because he hasn't got that. Look at Ollie. He's developed and learned. He was at Cardiff. He went to Mulder. He's had many years learning the craft of being a manager. What has Lampard, right? And this is my facts again. He's 2.5 seasons. 1 year at Derby, 1 year at Chelsea, and now he's halfway through his next season. Is that really enough time to become a top-class manager? I don't think so. And it's unfair for Frank to be in that. And I think it's his own fault. I think his own hubris and his ego thought, yeah, I can do this and go into it. And unfortunately, you can see the result now. And I think it'd be better for everyone if he, finish off the year, walk away, because ultimately you don't want to affect his status as a legend. Do you mean? He was a great player for Chelsea. So I think that's what I want to debate and get the fans to think about is, has he really got the skills in his toolbox to be a manager? Yeah, great player, but management and playing are different. Look at all the great players. Hullet was a failure, great player. Pirlo, look at him at Juventus, amazing player. What, they're 6 now? And Juventus have been winning the league 4 or 5 years in a row. And suddenly he comes in. So I'm calling out the facts that a great player does not mean you're a great manager. There's a different skills you need, and his toolbox is currently empty, and that's what needs to be addressed. So I think for everyone, he should finish off the season, get that learning, because how'd you learn? By failing. So he's got to learn, go away, and then maybe come back in 5 years' time. He's not ready for the job.
There we go. Zane has had his say, mate. Thank you for coming on and speaking up for us, mate. Really appreciate it. A lot to say there. Well, Anita's backing you, Zane. She says, well said. A comment here actually says, getting Tuchel is a step in the wrong direction. Timo is a B-Tech Vardy. Facts is what Stevie H has got to say. Right now, unless we buy out a contract, we'd be getting Tuchel, and I just don't want him, so I'm Lampard in by default. Interesting. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, I know we've got loads of other callers waiting in the background. I do not have the time today to get that done. I got some things to do. I'm very, very sorry for everyone who waited. Thank you all for your viewership this morning. It means a great deal to me. Whether you're watching on Twitter, watching on Facebook, or watching here live on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button or the retweet button. Subscribe now to the Football Terrace. Our biggest year ever, 2020. Where we grew by over 70,000 subscribers. It's the biggest 1 year growth that we have ever had. Over 27 million individual viewers. Individual people. 27 million individual people globally have watched the channel this year. 2021, we want to push that past the 30 million mark. We want to grow by 100,000 subscribers next year and keep going on to new levels. We've got a great panel, a great group. You, the viewers, make this channel, though. Without you, the channel is trash. And I mean that 110%. The bit I'm most proud of, legit, right? Legit, is the chat room. The chat is the one. So that's why you've got to sign up to the Discord server right now. I think there's 1,500 people or so in there. We want to keep growing that over 2021. And I want you, if you're in the Discord server, share it with your friends. All of you that use it, try and get 3 or 4 friends to sign up to it. 3 or 4 people you interact with on socials. Get them involved now via the Discord server. The link for that is in our description below. But until next time, people, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you in 2021.